Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Ekamaksharam Hridi Nirantaram Bhasate Swayam Likyate Katham हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् ह्यहमहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता वा पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम् देहं मृण्मयवच्चडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यथो नाहं तत्ततभावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिय दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय. Offering our salutations to Ramana, who shines as the very self in all beings, we begin today's Thursday satsang. On every Thursday, we read the two verses, one of the two verses selected for this satsang from Muruganar Swami's Guru Vachaka Kovai, which is a compilation of various aspects which Ramana has covered, and in every aspect, Ramana reminds us to get back to our own true nature and abide as the self Atmanishto Bhavatva. So, this is the constant theme of every verse that we read. And we read that verse and we meditate on the meaning of that verse, and we sit down for self-enquiry for next few minutes. And once the two verses are read and meditated and we sit down for self-enquiry, we have a summing up of those two verses that will be followed by the offering of Ramana Ashtottaram by Prathanama and by Bocchi. So let us start by reading the first verse that has been selected for today's satsang. It is the verse number 786, and it's from the subtitle Conduct of Sadhakas. What should sadhakas do and how they should conduct? The verse says, for those who have earnestly embarked upon the performance of their duty. What is the duty? Which is self-abidance. Slipping from this that sweeping from the state of the self that possesses the excellence of non duality, is itself a grave fault. Once again, for those who have earnestly embarked upon the performance of their duty, which is self abidance, slipping from the state of the self that possesses the excellence of non duality is itself a grave fault. This being so, if one ponders over it, can interference in others' affair be consistent? This being so, if one ponders over it, can interference in others' affair be consistent with his duty? Bhagavan gives an explanation. The state of abiding as Swarupa, which is the pure, vast, true consciousness, is an obligation that should be firmly observed by all the beings in the world. Once again, Bhagavan says, the state of abiding as Swarupa, which is the pure and vast true consciousness, is an obligation that should be firmly observed by all the beings in the world. Swadharma, one's own duty, is abidance in pure self alone. Swadharma, that is one's own duty, I'll read that. Swadharma, one's own duty, is abidance in the pure self only. All other perceived duties are worthless. Blessed be the feet of the friend Bhagavan who instructs, don't go back on your words. Keep away from others' affair. So, blessed be the feet of the friend Bhagavan who instructs, don't go back on your words. Keep away from others' affair. Here, Bhagavan is telling what is the paramount duty of a human being or a sadhaka. This is a question asked in Ramana Gita. I think it's the Muktya Kartavya Nirupanam chapter. I think it's the third chapter where the devotee is asking Bhagavan, what is the one paramount duty of human being? Please tell me one. Don't tell me many things because there may be conflicts. What should do, what I should do, what I should not do. Give me one paramount duty and please explain on it. And Bhagavan says, for those who desire the highest, for those who desire the highest, knowing their own self is the paramount duty. And how you should do that? By turning away from all the objects, all the external objects, by pushing it away, by turning within to the self. It should be practiced and it should be gained. This is the only duty that has to be performed. And Bhagavan says all the other duties which are given to us is for our chitta shuddhi. If you simply keep quiet, they say that if you're simply sitting in one place, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So Bhagavan knows this. So he says, whatever duty has been given to you, if you do that, your chitta shuddhi will happen. And a true disciple, a sadhaka who has finished all his duty and who is sitting for sadhana, for such a sadhaka, turning towards the self and abiding as the self alone is the duty. And while he is doing that duty, while he is sitting for the sadhana, all the other duties are worthless. Okay, it's usually when we sit for meditation, something very important crops up in the mind. Ah, I have to do that work. Oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, let me just send a message before I sit down for meditation. All these thoughts arise when one sits in meditation. So Bhagavan says, put all the duties at rest and turn within. It's very, very difficult for us. What will happen if you're simply sitting and closing our eyes? What will happen to the various things that we need to do? So Shiva Prakasham Pillai in his Ramana Padamalai says, Bharangal yellam paranishai potru பக்தியாய் அவன் திருப்பாதம் நேரங்கள் எல்லாம் நினைத்திருவென்று உரைபோன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. For all the bharam, all the burden that you have, you put it on the God. The God who is taking care of the whole universe will not take care of the little jobs that you need to do. He will take care. Nothing wrong is going to happen with putting all the burden on the God. You turn within all your time, all your spare time, you turn within towards the feet of Ramana, the state of Ramana, which is the self. You turn towards that, says Shiva Prakasham Pillai. So there are some interesting incidents which happened during the Ramana's stay in the, the, the old meditation hall that we see in Ramanashram. That was called the Old Hall. And that was also called the Freedom Hall because anybody could do anything. The people, the Veda Patashala children would come and chant Vedas. Some devotees would sing songs. Some would play veena and sing songs. Some people would listen to the radio in the old hall, and Bhagwan would read papers and read letters and answer to them. And answers, he would give answers to the questions which the devotees would ask. Some devotees would make note of the answers. So all this children playing and some children crying, everything used to happen. And it was all not only open for all the human beings, even the animals, the monkeys would come in. Lakshmi the cow would barge in and talk to Ramana and go eat idlis from the hands of Ramana and go back. The squirrels would come and eat the cashew nuts from Bhagwan. So all this was happening. So it's called the Freedom Hall. And one devotee wanted to listen to the news. So he increased the volume of the radio, the transistor which was there in the old hall. The other devotee who was meditating, he got disturbed. And he quickly went and he reduced the volume, or he switched off the radio and he came back and sat down for meditation. And this person got annoyed. And again he went and switched on the radio. Then again this person got angry and again he went and he switched off the radio. So this was happening 2-3 times in front of Bhagavan. Bhagavan was seeing all these, and then he turned towards the one who was meditating, because a sadhaka has the responsibility of doing his duty. What is his duty? To hold on to the self, to abide in the self. So he turned towards the sadhaka first and he told, if the radio is disturbing you in meditation, you need not come here for meditation. You can find a different place for meditating. But if, and then he turned towards that other person. Bhagavan is equal. He gives the equal upadesha for everyone. He turned towards it. And he says, if you want to listen to radio, why you have to come here? So he turned towards him and also told him what to do. So it is our responsibility that we should not interfere on others' affair. So if Bhagavan, the devotees would come and complain, Bhagavan, do you know that new devotee who keeps sitting there? He is not meditating. He is sleeping and he is snoring in between. Then Bhagavan would sit up straight and then he would listen very, very carefully. Ah, really? Oh, he's not meditating. He's sleeping. Then he slowly would relax. What were you doing? Have you come to the police other people? Have you come to investigate on other sadhana? What is the work you have come for? You have come here to turn towards the self and abide as the self. You hold on to this. The Upadesha that he gave to Sadhu Om Swami, Vanda Velaya Pare. Do the work that you have come for. So this is the great work. What is our duty? Is to abide as the self. But what are we doing? Instead of paying attention to the self, we are paying attention to everything else in the world. So Bhagavan says, the one who has created the world will take care of the world. You don't have to think about the world. You take care of yourself. You turn towards yourself and know yourself. That is the only duty that we need to do. And we need not interfere in anybody's duty, because it is the God has given that duty to them and they are playing their role. You cannot say, "Oh, Ravana, you should not be like this. You should do this job. You should do that job." It's Ravana's role to kidnap Sita, Ravana's role to have pride, Ravana's role to do whatever he is supposed to do. You cannot change that role of Ravana. What you can do is you can turn within and you can correct yourself. You can't correct anybody in the world, but Bhagavan says we are here to correct ourselves. And what is the correct duty that we need to do? We need to turn our attention away from others to ourselves. And how can we do that? Whenever the thought arises, it is the attention moving away from the self. As soon as the thought arises, we need to stop it and question it. For whom is this thought? Thought is for me. And quickly turn the attention within and ask, who am I? And the only thing that we need to do is to hold on to this question. And this question will take us to our own true self and make us abide. And whenever the thought arises by the virtue of the habit, you need to dehabitize it by turning the attention again and again towards the self. So let us practice self-enquiry for the next 10 minutes. Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana. We read the next verse chosen for today's satsang. It is the verse number 1004. The mind that causes the shining of the world, which arises through delusion, is like the sunlight reflected in a bright mirror. The mind that causes the shining of the world, which arises through delusion, is like the sunlight reflected in a bright mirror. You should know that the supreme self light, which shines forth as the reality behind that mind, is like the brilliant self luminous light of the sun itself. You should know that the supreme self light, which shines forth as the reality behind the mind, is like the brilliant self luminous light of the sun itself. Bhagavan is telling the self, our own true nature is self-luminant light, like the sun. And the mind is like the moon. The moon does not have its own light. It only reflects the light of the sun. It reflects the light of the consciousness. It is only a reflected light. But we are mesmerized by the wonder the mind creates. What does the mind create? It makes that, it makes this world shining. We are able to recognize everything in this world, and we are able to do all the work that we think we can do in the world with our mind. But Bhagavan says this is a delusion. The world picture, which is recognized by the mind, is only an illusion which is projected by the mind. Instead of getting carried away with this projection of the mind, one needs to understand that this, what we see, the mind is able to show us, is only the reflected light. And where is the source of this light? It is within each one of us. It is our own self. Bhagavan tells us, do not get caught up with this half light called the mind. He tells one beautiful story. One boy was sitting and reading in the night time for his exams, which is coming up. And when he's reading, he notices something strange in his outside the window. He sees that there is something very, very dark and tall, and something is fluttering as if it is some ghost wearing a white sari. And he's really afraid, and he quickly closes the door of the windows and he goes to sleep. And the next day morning, he wants to find out whether the ghost is still waiting for him outside the window. So he slowly tries to open the window. Then what does he notice? There is no ghost. There is nothing to be afraid of. It is only a lamp post, and some kite or some cloth has got caught up in that lamp post, and it is fluttering like it is the white sari of the ghost. But it is only a piece of cloth fluttering due to the wind, and it is only a lamp post. And when does he recognize this? When there is the daylight, when the sun is shining bright, he understands that, oh, it is only a lamppost and there is nothing to be afraid of. So Bhagavan says this half light of mind, it only creates all the problem. It only creates the problem which does not exist. It creates issues which are not at all relevant, but it makes this world shine with both its pleasures and the pains, worries and the joys. everything it creates, the mind which creates all these dualities. But Bhagavan says this mind is only a reflected light. Find out the source of this mind. What powers this mind? Turn within and ask yourself. And we will understand that is it is our own true self. And once we understand our own true nature as the light, then Bhagavan says the mind may exist, but it will not create any worries or not create all these the problems which it creates. It will be like the the moon in the daylight. Sometimes in the daylight we see the moon, but it does not matter whether that moon is there or not. It looks beautiful, it is there in the sky, but the light, the reflected light is seen, but it does not matter. So such is the state of a jnani who has recognized the self, which is the all encompassing light, which is the source of the mind. He is not troubled by any of the creations of the mind, which is only illusion. So when we are doing sadhana, when the thought is arising in our minds, we need to understand this thought is only the problem. It is creating the problems like anxiety and worry and confusion. It is creating. And this is only the reflected light. And when we turn within and ask ourselves, who am I? We are turning our attention not to the reflection, but we are turning towards the source of that light. Let us turn towards the source of the mind with the question, who am I? And let us abide there as the self. Let us practice self inquiry for the next 15 minutes. Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. In the two verses that was chosen, Bhagwan reminded us that the only paramount duty is to turn within and to abide as the self. So, for a true disciple, the work is within and there is no work outside. So, he needs to remind every time the mind turns outward in the form of thoughts, one need to remind again and again, why are you worrying about others? Turn within, turn within. And when we turn within, Bhagwan gives the clue. If you are seeing the light of the mind, if you are having a vision of something glorious, one should not get carried away with that vision. One need to understand that all visions which come and go are the play of mind. One needs to inquire, what is the power which makes me recognize this light? What is that power which is shining, which includes this light and it's beyond it? And when we inquire, we will get back to our own true self. And abiding as the self alone is the paramount duty. That's the only thing that needs to be done. Everything else is taken care, says Bhagavan. So let us have faith in Bhagavan's words and let us practice this paramount duty of turning to the self and abiding there. We conclude today's satsang by the offering of Ramana Ashtottaram. I request Vaibhavji and Prarthanama to chant the Ashtottaram, and we can offer the flowers of attention towards the Arunachala Ramana who shines in our heart, or we can inquire who is the listener and hold on to that question until it takes us to the source. I request Prarthanama and Vaibhavji to chant the Ashtottara.
Namo Ramana. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महोसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगदितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ श्रीशोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासुतहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजितचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्री शोणाचल हृद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेवितां सरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानामाराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनानगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋचान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारानवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रिशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिशप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गृहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषक्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोरणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवश सादात्म्य भावं गतः ऋन्निष्ठस्वगभीर नित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनासे कराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Ramana. I thank all the Satsangis for being a part of this Satsang. Namo Ramana.